Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? We're finally here. What's up? How we doing? How is everybody feeling? Wednesday, team gets back to practice. We have some news. How are we feeling? Let me throw a little intro. We'll get to it. How is everybody doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yo, yo, what's up? How's it going? Nia Perez, Steve-O knows the first in the building. You like that? You sure? Thank you. There's the intro. We need to get a better intro than that. If anybody knows how to do intros, man, hit me up. We got to do a better one. That's kind of basic, but we'll get working on it. You know, we got things we're working on. But how the heck is everybody feeling today? We got a game in less than a week, and the team went back to practice. They're preparing for it. We had a lot of news today, and let's talk about that. We got some guests coming in today. Wayne Breezie should be chopping in eventually, and my boy Rohan will be in here eventually. So we'll hopefully get them in soon. But yeah, let's get to your questions. Throw me some questions today, and we'll get to them as much as we can. But first and foremost, let's get to the news, shall we? There was a lot of things that kind of went out today, and let's post it up. So first and foremost, today, this news kind of dropped. They put Trey Lance on the injured reserve, and Marlon Mack was called up officially to the active roster, and he took Trey's spot, basically. They also added Kurt Benkert and Tevin Coleman to the practice squad. So we knew Kurt Benkert yesterday was, signed. But today, they went out and got Tevin Coleman, a blast from the past. Tevin Coleman. So, again, 49ers signed veteran running back Tevin Coleman to their practice squad, reuniting him with Kyle Shanahan. Man, that's crazy. Tevin Coleman's been on this team a couple years back, 2019. And, it feels like we got the band back together. 2019 vibes. They got Tevin Coleman back on the team. And, Jimmy Garoppolo's starting quarterback again. Kind of weird. Kind of 2019 vibes. But Tevin Coleman practice squad. It's not a bad move. I think it was smart. He's a veteran. He knows the system. And, he's the type of guy that could come right in and play if they need it. This team needs depth. We talked about this yesterday, that they're probably going to sign another running back because the Niners get a lot of injuries to their backfield. And Tevin Coleman was the guy they signed. And again, it makes a lot of sense because Tevin Coleman has been on this team before. He can be a plug-and-play type guy in case there's any injury. But right now, he's just on the practice squad. We have, Elijah Mitchell injured. We have Ty Davis-Price injured. So we have Jeff Wilson Jr., there's Jordan Mason, and Marlon Mack are on the active roster. But now we have Tevin Coleman behind the scenes in case one of those guys gets hurt. So definitely a smart insurance policy. They're going to need depth. And, this is the team that runs the ball at such a high frequency, probably one of the highest frequency running teams in the league. And you're bound to get hurt, unfortunately, if you run that much. The running backs, they have short shelf lives, and in Kyle Shanahan's system, they tend to run and get hurt. So definitely a smart move signing Tevin Coleman. Steve O'No says, honest opinion, are we beating Denver? Is this offense going to struggle against Chubb, Randy Gregory, Surtain, DJ Jones? It's a tough task. I won't sit here and say it's going to be easy, but the Niners have a stout defense too. So I think both teams are going to be playing gritty. It's primetime game. I think the defenses are going to be the key to both sides of the ball. It's not going to be easy for the Niners. But, we have some physical players. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle might be back this week. And, you have a good run game. The offensive line was really solid this week, and they can improve upon that. I think we beat Denver. Definitely not going to be easy, a road game. But Kyle Shanahan and the Niners typically play better on the road. For whatever reason, they play good on the road. So I don't think that the Niners can go. I don't think the Niners are going to be a team that you're like, oh, they're going to lose this because it's on the road. They play great on the road, and I could see them coming into Denver, Mile High Stadium, the high altitude, and taking this win. But again, definitely going to be a battle. So Sacktown says all those unnecessary runs can easily be changed into play action. Let's get it done. We have not focused on play action since 2019. I agree. I feel like Kyle kind of went away from those things a little bit, but hey, never too late to rewrite the script. And I think he needs to kind of utilize that play action in his offense again, And maybe with Jimmy, because he is that quick release guy, he does have a good play action type skill set. And that's what they utilized in 2019. A lot of play action passes, run, and then play action. And I think that's what they have to get back to. That's kind of their bread and butter that took them very far. Run the ball, play action, smart, short, little intermediate pass, quick release. That's what Jimmy's going to do. And I think that's what they have to do moving forward. They do have to kind of utilize that into their ball game because the Niners like to use misdirection, but I feel like Kyle sometimes he overthinks things and he's trying to get a little too cute, too complicated. Stick to what works, and you're right. Play action works, Sacktown. I agree. Jesse P, will Jimmy turn the ball over? I hope not. I really do. But Denver has a good defense, and if he does, you got to credit their defense. This is going to be a battle. Whoever makes the least mistakes in a game like this typically wins. Again, playing a strong Denver defense that they it's not like they don't know what Jimmy's doing. And these are teams now they can go flip the tape on Jimmy and say, oh yeah, this is how to stop him. Teams know his tendencies. He's going to throw it over the middle. But hey, at the end of the day, I feel like Kyle's going to implement a few different types of plays for Jimmy. He said it the other night in the press conference. He goes, there was different plays in this playbook that he hasn't even seen before. And again, Jimmy didn't have this year's playbook in his hand during training camp. He didn't train. So there are some new wrinkles there. And I think Kyle's going to exploit those. And I think he's going to try to see if Jimmy can utilize some of those plays in the playbook. It might be a little different. Jimmy's going to be playing with house money. Nothing to lose, backs against the wall. And I think Jimmy might be throwing some passes that we're going to be a little surprised. What is this? So again, there's nothing to lose for Jimmy. And I think the team will, I think this team's going to surprise a lot of people in terms of how their offense is going to be. Because I know a lot of people are, their offense is going to be limited, this and that. I really feel like they have nothing to lose. This team feels like they're just super hungry. The veterans on this team that have been to the Super Bowl, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, like all these guys, they want to get back there. They've been waiting. They've been trying to fulfill the revenge tour for years. The defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward, these guys want to win a championship. So I think that this team is going to come in hungry, and they're going to fight no matter if Jimmy or Trey's in there. And they rally around Jimmy. They love Jimmy. He's the leader. So I think this team is going to be a very strong team. They're going to make a big push down this stretch of the season. They're going to win a lot of games, and it's going to be a fun season. Whether they finish the job in the playoffs or not, that's to be determined. But I think it's going to be a good season. NFL, me, what's up? He says, what's going on, Raj? Getting ready for week 3. Me too. I can't wait. Week 3 is going to be fun. Anthony Cobra says, Jimmy is a winner, guys. Watch this dude going to throw 2 picks, 1 TD. Broncos 24-10. Maybe. You never know. He might throw 2 picks today or on Sunday. It's happened many times, but I feel like this team is defensively going to keep him in a lot of games. And we've seen it before. Jimmy throws picks, and the team stays fighting. And I think this defense might be one of the better defenses they've had in a long time. You got a great secondary. And that's the thing. This secondary is something special. Like, we haven't seen a secondary like this in a while. Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley have been a lockdown duo. That front 7 is just scary. Those linebackers, man, Nick Bosa and everybody on the line are just so good. Talanoa Hufanga, we've talked about him a lot. And man, oh man, Jimmy Ward hasn't even played it down for this team yet. When he comes back, the secondary is going to be even better. So I'm excited. I think this team's going to do a lot. A couple things I want to get to. So we did talk about Tevin Coleman. You know what? There was some news today. So yesterday, there was a surgeon. There was a report. Let me put this. Quarterback Trey Lance could make full recovery within 10 to 12 weeks. This was per a surgeon. And yeah, that's true. He could probably recover, make a full recovery in the ankle, based on how the bones are going to set and everything. And he's 22. He's going to heal very quickly, physically. Mentally, it's a whole different story. But doesn't mean just because he heals in 10 to 12 weeks that he's ready for football. So today, Kyle Shanahan went out, and we got to post this. This is what Kyle Shanahan went out and said.
You guys put Trey Lance on IR officially today, so can you just clarify whether you're expecting him back possibly for the playoffs, or you ruled him out until next season?
No, he'll be out till next year.
Until next season.
Yeah, next season. Thank you. That's what years mean to me. I don't.
And how's his spirits?
He's doing as good as you can. Trey's been great. A number of guys, we've all talked to him a bunch, and he's trying to come to the game this week. I don't think he'll be able to until swelling goes down and stuff like that, but he'll be back in part of us sooner than later.
So basically, he says he's done for the season. They're shutting him down. He's not going to make a return to the playoffs. You know, I know a lot of people wanted him to be back, maybe because they saw this report. 10 to 12 weeks, he should be ready. It's unfortunate, but I think it's the right move. You don't want to rush him back. You don't know how much pain tolerance he's going to be. Game shape's a different story than being medically healed and cleared. Like, that's one thing. You can be cleared, physically, but in order to go to game time and be at that high peak level, these guys are going to have played 10 to 12 weeks already. Their bodies are at a different capacity. The Trey had been rehab. He's right now in a hospital bed. His body's not as strong at its peak. You lose a little strength and endurance and balance and a little bit of things like that. Definitely going to go through the rehab process, but unfortunately, I think it's for the best. Then he can rehab all off season, get his mind right, and get back to attacking everything he needs to do for next season. It is tough, but I think this is unfortunately the right thing. You don't want to rush him. You don't want to cause him to get hurt again and rush back, and maybe he's not ready, and mentally it's going to be a toll on him. I mean, it's already going to be mentally tough on Trey all season, going through this, and I'm sure he's, got a tight group of friends, and the squad has his back. The teammates, love him. We saw Hufanga yesterday go to the hospital yesterday and deliver him a Happy Meal, man. That made my heart like 10 sizes bigger than it was. I was like, man, that was so cool to see. I love Talanoa, man. He's such a team player. He's going to be a future captain of this squad, and he went out there. He has Trey's back. So I know there's a lot of people that have Trey's back, and it's going to be tough on him. But I think, unfortunately, shutting him down for the rest of the season is the best move for him long-term from a rehab standpoint. And I get it. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, he can be healthy. He can play. He's only 22. Yeah, but there's a lot of logistics that go into it. Again, game speed, game ready is a lot different than medically cleared. And it's tough. It is definitely tough, but I think it's for the best. And let him go into this offseason hungry and ready to want to kind of just attack it and prove everybody wrong and, rehab. And once he's finished with rehab, then he's going to be at another mindset of, okay, now I'm ready to go play the game. Because the rehab grind is a whole different story than preparing for a game, preparing for a season, game activities. The rehab grind is so much different. So he'll have been these next 10 to 12 weeks rehabbing to come back just to be at a functional level and, be at this different capacity. And then he has to go and train his body again to be at an NFL game ready situation. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it is an unfortunate situation. But Kyle Shanahan today basically said he's not coming back till next season. So, yeah, and NFL me says fans thinking a player can break an ankle and come back in the same year. I mean, it's definitely possible because these guys are freak, athletes. Their bodies are in peak shape. They can heal, at a crazy level. They're 22. They're young. I mean, if I was 22 years old and I broke an ankle, I'm pretty sure I'd heal a lot quicker than somebody that's 70, 60, 80 years old that typically breaks their ankle from a fall. But it's still a lot of work to come back on the mental side of it. So, yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. And again, you don't want to rush them. This is their franchise quarterback. This is their future. They invested 3 first-round picks in Trey Lance, and it would be silly to throw him back out there and risk him to get hurt again because you know what? You do have to protect your investment. And I know a lot of people, I saw some comments earlier. Oh, well, you didn't protect him in the first place. You shouldn't have ran him and this and that. Whatever. It happened. It's unfortunate. But now without a shadow of a doubt, you have to protect him. And that means don't rush him back. Got to do what's best for him in the long term, says Steve-O. So, the vibes. Debbie says, hi, Raj. You're working hard to keep us updated. Thank you so much. I try so hard to keep you updated. I appreciate you, Debbie. Thank you so much. Sad Niner fan says, the Tongan Tiger is ready to feast on some Denver donkeys. That's a good comment. I think so too. The Tiger is ready to eat some donkeys, man. Yo, shout out to Big Huff. This guy's a vibe, man. I love him. His energy is just so incredible, man. So incredible. You know what else was incredible? You guys saw the video yesterday posted around social media. I posted it too. Of course, Fred Warner, after, he was mic'd up yesterday. And after the unfortunate injury, Trey Lance is getting on the cart and they're carting him off. Fred Warner comes up to him and he says, "We love you, man. Much love." And it was that exchange was just so nice because we don't see these things. You're at the game or you're watching and you just see the players going to the car. You don't know the conversations, and to get the actual conversation during the moment, during the heat of the moment, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, the players don't care about Trey." Yo, Fred Warner, the absolute captain. Hufunga too was there, but Fred Warner's like, "Yo, we love you, Trey. Get better, and we got your back." And Trey says, "Don't worry, I'll be back. Go finish the job. Go finish the job. I'll be back, man." That was so amazing. These guys love Trey. Trey loves the squad, and that was very awesome to see. Man, Fred Warner is the captain of captains, man. Captain of captains. Rhino says, "You don't think Kyle wanted this? He is so quick to rule him out." No, man. There's no, from just my opinion, because I got the medical mind. I've worked in the medical industry and rehab industry for many years. Honestly, this is the smart thing, man. I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh no, he's quick to rule him out." This is the best thing to do. You got to be safe. I think Kyle genuinely, by ruling him out for the rest of the year, that shows he has his best interests in mind. And I know it's hard for some people to kind of come to grips with, but it truly is. And in the rehab world, sometimes you have to deliver tough news. You have to be like, "Look, it's the safer way." I've had to deliver a lot of news to people and say, "Hey, look, at the end of the day, you can't return to a sport. You can't do this. You can't do that." Because it's safer. It sucks when you hear that news, but sometimes the wait is worth the risk outweighs the reward. So you have to be safe, and you have to sometimes take the conservative route. I've told people recently. I had a friend recently, and they asked for some advice, and they wanted to go on this trip, but it probably wasn't a safe thing. And I told that person, I say, "Hey, look, you got to consider all the safety factors, and you may not want to go on this trip because of all those safety factors." And then unfortunately, would have been an amazing trip, but they couldn't do it. So, and there's been many instances where I've had to tell people, you gotta unfortunately not do the activity you want to do because of the safe route. It sucks. But in the long run, safety is what matters. And I think for Trey Lance, safety comes first. Especially, this was a tough injury. A fractured ankle is nothing to play with. We say a sprained ankle ain't nothing to play with. A fractured ankle is definitely not worth anything to play with. So Rick Diaz, agree with you tonight to make these things quickly. I think it's going to be more than a year, and I could probably be wrong. Yeah, I mean, it could be longer than it. I mean, it could be a long, long, long road back. Again, he's young. He's 22 years old, and man, the body heals so quick when you're 22. I'm telling you, he's going to physically be back at it. We're going to see him posting videos shortly in a couple weeks, and we're going to like, "Oh, man, fucking Trey, look at the comeback season. It's going to be amazing," because the comeback will be amazing. But it's one of those things where you just have to look for the future, because this isn't for the long haul. It's not for the short, just immediate success. We want Trey to be successful for a very, 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 very long time, right? We don't want him to be successful just this year. Like, we can't be selfish. We want him to be successful for a long time. And people have come back from big injuries. And I think that's the thing that people aren't thinking about a lot. It sucks, but a lot of players have come back from big injuries and have been amazing players. Look at Joe Burrow last year. He took his team to the Super Bowl after a torn ACL. Look at Nick Bosa. Granted, Nick Bosa's built like in a lab, but still, Nick Bosa's come back and he's played at such a high level. So players can come back from injuries, man. Dak Prescott came back from a similar injury. Unfortunately, he hurt his hand, but that's a whole different story. But Dak Prescott came back and he was playing very well on a similar injury. I mean, shit, man. Alex Smith. You know what? This is probably the most amazing story of them all. I can't believe he even came back to football. But point is, it takes time. Rehab is a very slow process. People that have been in it, even if you're an athlete, it's longer than you actually think. It's a process that you're like, oh, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Sometimes you're like, a couple of weeks go by and you're like, what? I thought I'd be back already. It's tough. Rehab's a grind. That's why I want to get out of the field, because sometimes you're just like, you got to have patience, man. So. NFL Me says, for Mason having a strong preseason, why do you think he isn't getting any carries at all? I don't know if we went over this yet. No, this is a good topic, because I genuinely want Jordan Mason to go out there and get his chances. But again, you got to realize he's an undrafted guy. For him to actually make the 53-man roster, that's big enough for him. And again, Kyle really looks at how people are practicing. He did say this last week after the TDP injury that, Mason's practicing well. So I think that's a good sign. But you got to realize he's got a guy like Jeff Wilson who's been on the team for a long time. He's a veteran. He knows how to go out there and run the system well. Again, we might think Mason's better, with his potential and his ceiling, but you have to kind of earn those reps. And I think that Mason right now hasn't earned it in the regular season. He did look good in the preseason, and he looked good in the off season and training camp, and that was good enough to make the 53-man roster. And that's a hell of a job already. Like, for him to make it as an undrafted player, it speaks volumes of the guy. But now to make to game day, to go get reps, now you got to keep working, keep grinding, and keep proving yourself to Kyle. So it doesn't just stop there. You have to keep working. Just because you make the roster doesn't mean you're going to go out there and get immediate snaps. Kyle's tough. He's a tough guy, especially on younger guys. And he also had another guy, Ty Davis Price, who was a third-round pick. He was working hard. He was competing for the same snaps. So they went out there together in practice, and they battled each other. And I think TDP might have looked better. This is just me assuming, and, based on what I've kind of studied this team over the years. If TDP got the reps last weekend, then to me it sounds like he probably looked better than Mason in practice. Unfortunate for TDP. Unfortunately for TDP, what was I going to say? Unfortunately for TDP, he got hurt. So that opens the door for Jordan Mason now. So we'll see. I think Mason definitely should get some carries. And I do think that my guy Marlon Mack's going to get some carries now. He's the veteran. And it's interesting, though. But I do think that Mason deserves to get some carries. So Alberto Soto says he wants to save him for the playoffs, bro. Kyle knows he's really good and doesn't want Jordan to get hurt. That's also a great, you know what? That's a good point, and I didn't bring that up. That's a great point. You want to save the fresh legs for that playoff push, and that could be very well. You know what? That's a very good point, Alberto. I do like that you brought that up. I didn't think of that, but honestly, if he's that good and you got those fresh legs, why don't you save him if you can? If you can save him till later, and teams are tired and they're gassed out, bring them back later. Bring them in later and dominate teams. That's a good thinking. That's actually not a bad that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Because if you lose another guy this early in the season, that's tough, man. So definitely a good thought. Sacktown says, I'm still mad TDP is out. It's frustrating, man. We lose running backs all the time, man. It sucks. But it is good that the Niners can bring in running backs, and they're very successful with the Niners. We could bring back a lot of guys. And JV says thoughts on Coleman coming back. So that takes me to Coleman. And he might be a little older, a little slower, but he's a guy that knows the system well. He could come in and do damage. So we do have players that can come right in and be a plug-and-play type guy. Again, we had Marlon Mack come in. He's a veteran. I'm sure he can be successful. And then we had a guy like Tevin Coleman, who's been on the roster before. He knows the system. It's going to be simple. He'll just be like, oh, yeah, I remember all these plays. So it's going to be funny. It's going to be fun to see him kind of pick it right up. Jimmy Robinson, what's up? He says, I didn't hear any more question about Kyle running the QB during today's press conference. What does it feel like they're brushing over it? No, I think at this point, Kyle has already said what he's had to say, and he's talked about it. I think now the media is probably like, we don't want to push him anymore. This is a good question. I feel like at this point, Kyle doesn't want to push it, or not Kyle. The media doesn't want to push it anymore because he's been pissed about the whole situation all week. People have been kind of going over it. They've been, arguing it, and I feel too it's kind of a disservice to Trey. It sucks. Trey got hurt, and we're all upset, and the media is pissed too. And I feel like at this point we just got to respect Trey. He's hurt. He doesn't need to hear all these, people talking about, yeah, you should have done this to Trey. You should have. At the end of the day, man, we got to consider Trey's feelings too. He's probably pissed off himself or feeling a certain way. So I don't think the media wants to push it away anymore or push it anymore because they've went into this topic ad nauseum. I mean, anybody that's been covering this team, media, fans, blogs, every page, KNBR, 957, everybody has talked about this. I mean, everybody's spit their opinion on it. And I think at this point, they're like, you know what? We don't need any more drama. We don't want to drag it out. We got a game coming up. Let's just focus on the positive. It is something that we can continue to talk about, but I think the media is like, you know what? We got a game to prepare for. Let's let Kyle prepare for this game. And it's unfortunate. It happened. It sucked. But let's also consider Trey Lance because nobody's considering what Trey Lance is going through. He's sitting there. He's probably listening to the media. He's reading everything. He's on social media. He probably doesn't want to hear all this nonsense, dude. He's probably sick of the moment the injury happened. Like when something bad happens to you, I'm sure you play it through your mind over and over. I've been in I remember having a crazy car accident a couple years ago. And I mean, I was in the hospital. I just over and over, I was like, I can't believe I survived it. You always replay that moment in your head. And I remember when I finally got back to driving and I had to go through that area again. I had to go through that spot where I had to, drive. And that was the same place where the accident went, man. I was just like PTSD. I was like, oh God, So I'm sure Trey doesn't want to think about that moment the injury happened. He doesn't want to keep going through all these questions and seeing Kyle have to answer these questions. So I feel like the media at this point is like, all right, we beat it like a dead horse. Let's leave it alone. So Anthony Cobra, sorry about being negative. I wasn't expecting Trey to get. Yeah, man, no doubt, man. You could be. You know what? You don't got to be sorry. Everybody's got opinions, man, and everybody gets upset. Like, football is all about emotions, man, and we're all different. We all handle things different. So you don't got to be apologetic to how you react to the news and responses and stuff. The only thing I hate is when people come and attack me personally, like I had something to do with it. Because lately I've been going online, and it's nobody in here. But especially on Instagram, I'll go live, I'll talk about it. And people, man, yesterday, the chat, bro, they was getting like racially derogatory towards me and calling me names and saying I'm stupid. And at that point, I was like, all right, man, I got to draw the line. So I cut the live last night. But, I got nothing against you, my man. And appreciate you. My man, Breezie says he needs the link. I thought I sent it to you. I texted to you. Let me pause real quick. We're going to take a 30-second break. I'm going to go send the link to my man Breezie. We're going to take a little bit of a break. I'll be right back. There we are. What's up? We're back. Okay, we sent Breezie the link. Hopefully he hops in. He's about to come in. I thought I sent him the link earlier. Maybe I didn't. That's not me. We forget these things sometimes. Let's get to some of these comments before Breezie comes in. Oh, man. My man Silva says, we need Miami Mike back. I miss Miami Mike. Shout out to the Dolphins, 2-0. They are balling out of control. That offense, he's making Tua look like him. This is a tough test, though. This week they're playing the Bills. And I really want to see what Miami can do against the Bills. This is going to be fun. Let's see. It's crazy, bro. He's hurt, and he still wants to show up in Sunday game. Yeah, man. Shout out to Trey. He's a real trooper. He wants to be there. He wants to show up. But I know the swelling is probably not going to be down enough, especially in the altitude. I don't think Trey's going to be there in the stands or, with the team this weekend. But eventually – he'll be on the stadium with the team, and that's going to be cool to see when he's finally on the sidelines with the team eventually. So good stuff. My man 97 Problem says that meme Jimmy posted today. That was funny, man. Jimmy Ward's the most savage player on this team. He's so funny, man. Just some of the stuff he says. I can't wait for Jimmy Ward to be back. A couple more weeks. Rhino says Kyle runs quarterbacks like they're puppets. hence running Trey up the gut. Even Jimmy G said this past game he feels better when he can just go out and play. Yeah, man, the running is crazy. Yeah, and Kyle's such a run-heavy coach. He loves to run it, and I do agree with you. We've talked about this a lot, Rhino, that the runs up the middle were the plays that we were like, oh man, what are you doing? But again, hopefully this changes his set. Here we go. We got my man Rohan coming in, and we got my man Wayne coming in a minute. What's up, Rohan? How you feeling, man?
We feeling all right, I guess. I mean, I went on live stream Monday, and my title was Gloomy Victory Monday because you're never sad normally after a win, but this is the first time I'm talking with you. I don't know what you think about the whole Lance injury, all the debacle. It's really just a frustrating injury because this year was supposed to be that year where Lance could develop over a 17-game period, then be fully prepared when the 49ers were going to make the playoffs, and then go into the playoff run with a full head of steam and be able to help the 49ers at least try and get over that hump that they failed to get over for the last 5 seasons.
Yeah, I agree. Gloomy Victory Monday is good. I said it was a bittersweet Victory Monday. I think gloomy was probably a better word, but it was sad, man, because I'm a big Trey guy. I was excited to see the development, just like you said. And then by the time the season was wrapping up, he would have had a whole basically year development, and then it was like, okay, now it's playoff mode. Let's see what you could do, and we get to miss that, and it's a tough injury. Yeah, I was bummed, man, but unfortunately he's going to miss the season. But the good thing is he's young. He can heal. 22 years old. You're going to heal well. And he's tough. And I think he's got a team that, supports him. I guess good news is they kept Jimmy. The insurance policy came through. I wish we didn't have to cash it in this manner. But I think the team's going to stay afloat. And they got a great team, an elite roster. And I think they'll still win 11, 12 games. But yeah, unfortunate for Trey. It definitely was a gloomy Victory Monday.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing I said about this, I honestly, I tweeted about this earlier today. I do think the 49ers, in a way, their playoff picture is less volatile because if we're being honest, right? While Trey Lance had this impeccable ceiling that a lot of people expected him to attain, myself included, I think that he's a very tantalizing prospect with a ton of traits. We really didn't know how long the growing pain process would take. And I'm not saying that Garoppolo is a perfect quarterback where he has no issues, but we understand what the limitations are. We understand where we can go with Garoppolo at quarterback. We've seen it, right, in 2019 and 2021. We've seen that even with Garoppolo playing as he plays at that average level, it's still a playoff level team. So now I fully expect this team to make the playoffs. I even believe this 49ers team should win the division in 2022. Now, the only question is, can this team really get over the hump? We've seen it fail twice now with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. The reason that people were excited about Trey Lance, he gets you to play 11 on 11 football. And with his ability to throw the deep ball, with his ability to run, with his ability to force defenses to think a lot more than they might have with Garoppolo, those were the factors that could give you at least the potential for winning that chip. And now you don't have those factors, making it a little harder, despite maybe making the playoffs a bit more of a certainty, making that last phase a harder part.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think definitely Trey would have been that guy that he takes him over the hump just a little bit. He can stretch the field a little bit. If by the time the playoffs would have came again, like we said, he would have been even more developed. He would have been able to okay, now I see this. He can read defensive tendencies, read the plays, and he'd be at a better level where he could say, okay, now I know when I can stretch. And I think he would have gave us that little umph that we've been missing. But you're absolutely right. I think the team making the playoffs is basically almost, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but it's almost a certainty. So it's basically
it would be a major disappointment if they didn't. That's how I'd phrase it.
Yeah, I agree because this is basically the same team they've had over the last couple of years as healthy. That made to 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl. It's basically the same team with probably a better secondary. So they're going to make the playoffs, and I agree. They probably win the NFC West. I honestly feel it's going to be a great season. We're going to be happy, but again, we're going to go to the playoffs and. It is the same team that hasn't been able to get over the hump. Can they finally push through, climb that mountain? Can Jimmy make those plays that the defense is going to force him to make? Is Kyle going to be able to make those play calls that don't limit them when they're up 10 Is he going to keep the pedal to the metal? Is he going to take his foot off the gas? That's what we need to see, because it's the same team. You're absolutely right. I'm going to bring in Wayne, and then I want to hit this question real quick from Jimmy Robinson.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, my man Wayne, what's up, dude?
Yeah, what's going on, y'all?
What's up, man? Not much. We
I
got
haven't talked to Wayne in a minute. I'm excited.
I know.
I know.
It's good. We got two of my
baby.
we got Rohan and Wayne in the building, man. Welcome them to the show. So, as you just enter, Jimmy has this question. He says, "I don't care if it's hard on Kyle. I feel like he needs to be held accountable for his play calling and managing the situation." So I haven't asked either of you two this week. Do you guys blame Kyle for Trey's injury? Like, where are your guys' stance on the whole situation with the injury? I'll let you get to it first, Rohan, and then Wayne, I'll let you attack it.
All right. I've got the unpopular opinion, and we might have 3 differing opinions with all 3 of us. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan is to blame for Trey Lance's injury. If we're talking specifically about that play, it was a freak injury. Nobody would have expected that his ankle would have anticipated. When I first saw the hit, I thought at first when he didn't come up for a quick second, I thought it was a concussion. And that's where I was scared a little bit. And then when you see that he immediately falls down after trying to step on that ankle, you knew that it was something bad. Ankle injury, now out for the season. But I don't blame Kyle Shanahan for it. And a lot of people have talked about usage. And I'm going to say 2 things. I don't actually even blame Kyle Shanahan for the usage in which he's utilizing Trey Lance. But I do dislike some of the play calls overall. When you're looking at the entire sample size, there are some play calls that I disagree that he runs Trey Lance with. There were some plays also where he ran the correct call and Trey Lance should have made a different read in the quarterback option, be it handing it off or even taking it on some of the plays. Like the Deebo Samuel play, I honestly thought Trey Lance should have taken that play. And then on the play that he got injured, I thought Ray McCloud might have had a better chance of hitting the edge had he handed it off to Ray McCloud. But overall, let me say this. Trey Lance, it's a part of his skill set to run that quarterback option. I think that you can't deny that that's a part of his skill set. And while it's unfortunate that he got injured running that quarterback option, Kyle Shanahan's not wrong in that it is a normalcy between some quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that you can't not take that away from Trey Lance, even at the rate that he's being utilized in that rate or in that kind of form, because it's such an important part of his or a part of the game. And if we're talking specifically about the Seattle game, the 49ers, in the 12 runs that Trey Lance was in at quarterback, the 49ers were averaging 9 yards per carry. That's a significant rate that the 49ers were averaging at. I've criticized Kyle Shanahan before for not going or for not utilizing or how do I say this? For not going back to what's worked. Sometimes Kyle Shanahan gets over creative. When something's working, he tries to go ahead and try and utilize another thing to try and really slam it instead of continuing with what's working. In this game, he continued to utilize what's working, which was the running game, and Lance was a part of that. And now Lance only ran 3 times in the first 2 drives. My guy Marco brought up this comment from the Houston game last year. Kyle Shanahan had a very similar game plan to the Houston game last year. He utilized Lance 3 times on designed runs in the first 2 drives. After that, there was not a single designed run until the second half. Instead, it was an array of passing plays after that because guess what Kyle Shanahan likes to do? It's been a staple in his offense. He likes to run the football, and once he's established the run, he likes to set up the pass because teams are now selling out and trying to force Kyle Shanahan to pass. But because of that, they have less personnel in the secondary, which makes it easier to scheme receivers open. You saw in that first Jimmy Garoppolo drive where he got a touchdown, receivers were wide open on 3 of those throws. And so to me, that's where I think Kyle Shanahan was thinking. I think it's the exact same play calls if it's Trey Lance because it's wide open receivers, which makes it easier on your quarterback. That's what I think Kyle Shanahan was doing. Unfortunately, it didn't get to that. I'm really sad for Trey Lance. This really bummed me out because this injury was a huge injury to a quarterback with such promise. I don't blame Kyle Shanahan for the play call nor the usage because I actually think the usage comes with a significant context in the games that he was rushed heavily. But I do think that some of the play calls overall where Kyle Shanahan has used Trey Lance have been incorrect.
Wow, okay. Wayne, what's your take on it? That was a hot mic situation there.
That was a hot mic. I mean, I felt like we just dropped it. Bam. Explosive. DJ Cluminati. Nah, look, guys, if you've been watching me all week, You already know I'm pro Trey Lance running the ball. It's part of who he is. It's part of his skill set. Let me just remind y'all mother suckers that Trey Lance, guess where he ran the ball when he played in North Dakota? Ask me where he ran the ball. He ran up the middle. He ran between the tackles. It was a pro-style offense, similar to what Kyle Shanahan runs. He ran it up the middle, and it did exactly what Rohan said that it does. It makes it makes linebackers bite on the run. It makes less people to be back in coverage so you can get the ball over the linebackers because they got to play the run first. And so it's unfortunate that Trey Lance got injured. And I know we want to go back and say, damn, I wish we didn't run that play. But guys, we were going to run that play regardless of who the quarterback was. Even Jimmy Garoppolo took a same quarterback power run and got to the goddamn end zone. And I ain't seen not one motherfricker in San Francisco 49er fan base complain about Jimmy running up the middle, getting to the goal line. Should have got in, but Mike McGlinchey prevented that. But that's another discussion for another day. It was the same play. It was the same play. He went back to that. You know why the 49ers were kind of being stagnant in the passing game? Like they weren't moving the ball. Jimmy was inaccurate. So he was like, hey, we're here. Let me get you down. So running with the quarterback is part of what Kyle Shanahan does. He's done it with just about every quarterback that he has. There's times Kirk Cousins even ran quarterback powers. And I know that's a Kyle Shanahan kind of like guy. So I don't blame Kyle for this. This was an injury. Like you can't blame the coaches for injuries. Now, if you want to blame coaches for play calling, I don't like all of Kyle Shanahan's play calls. I still think he can be more aggressive. I still think he can do other things. But you gotta have when you have the ability, when you have a quarterback with the ability like Trey Lance, you have to utilize some of the things that he's strong in. And one of those things is getting between the tackles. A lot of people think that Trey Lance is slow and hesitant. I want y'all to come to my house, or know what? Go on my Patreon, watch me break down the Trey Lance runs. He's fast as he's faster than what we see on TV. TV, it looks slow. I'm telling you, he's faster. And I slowed it down 3 times in slow motion, and he's still hitting the hole hard. And I think the issue with Trey Lance is this. Rohan said it best. He said the issue is he's not accurate when reading whoever's crashing down. It's the quarterback option. He's not accurate when to hand the ball off to Debo or when to take the ball. And that comes with reps.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with reps. We say we want him to get reps. We don't just get reps at throwing, guys. You got to get reps at everything. And I get it. He's hurt and it sucks. And now he's going to not have another. He's going to be another season where he doesn't develop. I get all of that. But you know what, guys? It's called being faithful. And you're going to have to find a way to be faithful in this whole situation. You could be mad. You could be angry. You could be sad. Or you could choose to celebrate this team because they're going to find ways to win. And that's what I'm all about, man. All I care about is this team finding ways to win. It's unfortunate it won't be with Trey Lance, but Trey Lance will be there. So that's a good point. That's a good thing for Trey. I heard you talking about it earlier. He's not going to be able to. Kyle said that, he doesn't want Trey Lance even here because of the swelling to the ankle and things like that. So, guys, I don't blame Kyle. You shouldn't blame Kyle. It's part of who Kyle is. Can Kyle call different plays? Yeah. Can Kyle call different exotic runs? Yeah. Can players get injured on those other plays? Yeah. Why? It's motherfucking football. So we just got to go back and just remember this is football. This guy's going to get injured, And I feel like a lot of people feel like Kyle's putting guys in injury way. I don't remember anybody here complaining about Jerry Rice going across the middle every single time when he had to play, safeties like Steve Atwater and those guys. And Bill Walsh threw the plays. Yo, you go across the middle, you catch this ball. I don't care if you get hit. Like, that's football. Like, it's just football. So guys are going to get injured because they're playing the most aggressive sport in the world.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's football, and unfortunately for Trey, he got hurt, and he's going to miss this season. And, the worst part about it is it was a freak injury, and I think that makes us all freak out. We all get emotions. Football is a game filled of so much emotions. As fans, we wear our emotions on a sleeve. On game day, if we win, we're like super hyped up. We think we're the greatest thing on earth. If we lose, we're pissed. We're mad. Blame. Who are we blaming today for the loss? When there's an injury, we look for blame. And I get it. Like, I do want to say, like, I don't think it's Kyle's fault for getting hurt because he does not predict it. You can't predict any injury. It's not. And I did hear a lot of people say, oh, my God, he wanted him to get hurt. There's conspiracy theories. Nobody wants any player on their team to get hurt. Like, that's silly. I do think that maybe the usage and maybe the play calling, and it could have been different. Like, there were different times where you could have used that QB power, but they use it a lot. he is right. I've been watching a lot of games this week, and other teams do run it. It's unfortunate for Trey that in FCS he was running up against guys that he was bigger, faster, stronger. In the NFL, he's not bigger, faster, stronger than these guys. So maybe you consider that. And one of the things too that even Trey said himself last week in his press conference, he goes, they asked him, what's the difference between running in the pros and running in college? He says, I'm not bigger, faster, stronger than everybody. And he knows it. And that's just something that he'd have to, develop over time. This first year, he's 22. He would have went into the weight room and keep building his body because he is going to run. That's part of his game. I remember when we drafted him, every fan has been excited because of the run game. He's going to stretch the defense. He's going to be able to stretch plays out. So it's like we can't be mad that he ran because we wanted him to run. It's unfortunate and we're mad and we want to point fingers. But the big thing is, yeah, maybe they didn't need to run, that option play at that moment. But he was going to run it eventually down the line again and again. Like Rohan said, maybe the actual end result, maybe handing it off to somebody else instead of keeping it at that moment would have changed it. But here's the thing. If he keeps that ball and he runs it for a touchdown and this didn't happen, we'd be praising Trey, saying he's the God's gift. He's so good. He's the best mobile quarter. Like, that's just football, man. It's these are the breaks and these are the stories. And if things change, we're having a whole different conversation. It just sucks, man. And things happen for a reason. It does suck. I wish that when he comes back, and maybe they scale it down a little bit because they were running him a lot. But again, that is the skill set. And like Rohan said, if it's working, you're not going to stop doing what's working because in the past, Kyle goes away from what's working. He's been up at 10, 28-3 many times. He's had big leads and he goes away from what's working and they lose games. So I do applaud, Rohan for saying that because most of the time we're sitting here attacking Kyle for not using the same plays, and now he's using the same plays and he's getting attacked. So you can't please everybody. Everybody's going to get upset. It is unfortunate for Trey, man, but he's 22. He's a young man and he's going to heal and he's got a bright future. He's still going to go out there and be great one day. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and this is the hurdle for him. But yeah, it's definitely a situation where everybody's mad because he had running backs, but it's an option play, man. It sucks because initially I was like, run that play. But going back, reflecting on things, watching it again, seeing it from a different angle, hearing everybody talk about it, watching other games, it's football, man. You can't avoid injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL in 2018. We were sitting here doing the same thing. You shouldn't have ran the ball. But it happened, and now we're here with Jimmy as quarterback one, and we have a great team. And I think the team's going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like to bring up the volume at which Trey Lance has run, right? In his 3 starts, Trey Lance, I think, or in his 4 starts, it's been like 13 carries a start. But you've got to understand the context behind it, right? First game that he plays against Seattle, he's the backup quarterback in a system installed for Jimmy Garoppolo, in which he also has a broken finger. Remember the finger injury that Trey Lance said was actually not healed fully until the entire end of the season. He only had that healed in the offseason. It bothered him in week 4, definitely bothered him in week 5 when he had his first career start. It was evident on the accuracy of some of his throws. That's why he threw 15 of 29 for 193 yards, and he still threw 29 times in that game, ended up rushing 16 times. Fast forward to the Houston Texans game. It's a super small sample size. That's why people like to nitpick. But I honestly think this is the only game in which you can truly evaluate what Kyle Shanahan wants to do with Trey Lance. He had 6 designed runs in that game. 6, I think, is a pretty good number if you're talking about the amount of rushing quarterbacks or quarterbacks that have the ability to run in this game. He had 6 designed runs, and they were periodically placed by Kyle Shanahan. I talked about how he had 3 in the first 2 drives, then not a single one till the second half, and then 3 in the second half. I think that is a pretty good game plan compared to the 24 throws that he had in that game. That's one of them. And remember, even then, at the end of that game, Kyle Shanahan still said, I don't know. I'm still learning how to game plan for Trey Lance. Fast forward to week 1, it's a monsoon game. And while it didn't rain significantly until the 4th quarter, both teams came into that game prepared to run the football. That's why the game plan was so run-heavy oriented from the jump and why Trey Lance ran the amount that Trey Lance ran. Yes, he was passing towards the end when the monsoon was completely running down because the 49ers were down, but they were up for a majority of the game. They were controlling game pace for a majority of that game, and that's why that situation came. And when you look at this game, I know he ran 3 times in the first 2 drives, but look at the exact drive right after. It was 3 pass plays dialed up and 1 rush play dialed up, which maybe it changes if TDP doesn't lose 4 yards, but it seemed like Kyle Shanahan had that predetermined number of plays that he wanted to run, of which a significant amount of them were passes because Seattle was starting to adjust to defend the run because San Francisco was averaging 9 yards per carry. There is significant context that's required when you talk about Trey Lance averaging 12, 13 carries a game. And when you understand the context, you know that that number isn't going to stay at 12 or 13 carries a game. You instead point to the Houston game, the true game in which you can analyze, and that number will significantly go down as the season was going to continue. Unfortunately, now you don't see it because he is injured, and now we have to wait till 2023, another year of missed development, which is unfortunate for Trey Lance. But I do think that there is some semblance in the entire, Kyle is running Trey too much. And because the context is required, it is a bunch of anomalies, but you have to understand what the conditions were in each of those games when Trey was running.
What you got to say, Wayne? You got any counter on that?
It's not much of a counter. It's like I don't know. When it comes to Kyle Shanahan, the majority of the time I'm trusting him because you got to understand who Kyle Shanahan is. First 15 to 20 plays are scripted. After that, it's going to be some football played, right? Then after that, when you come back in the halftime, you go back to your scripted plays. So I feel like Trey was going to run his little share of plays in the first half. If it was predominantly working, no one would have been complaining. I think the issue with Trey Lance running isn't Trey Lance running. It's more about him taking the hits after he runs. That's something that Trey Lance has to learn.
That's another thing that requires reps.
That's my point, bro. Right. Like, how's he gonna know? Like, it's easier for us to say hit the ground and slide. Why? Because we know we need to hit the ground and slide.
But he's never done it in his whole life. Like,
he hasn't done it in his whole career.
He's got to condition himself, and he said it. He's like, I don't slide. So, like, for him to do it, it doesn't come naturally. For some people, it does because it's instinctual. So it's not Kyle's fault. It's whoever taught him growing up and through those years of football, they should have told him to slide because that's where it starts. It starts from the ground up. If he didn't have that instinct already built in, that's a hard concept to learn. So you're right. But I do want to say, I do think running in between the tackles is, a recipe for disaster. For a guy like that, who I know he did it in college, and I agree with everything he said. He did it in college, and he did it well. But again, in college, he was bigger, faster, stronger than everybody. Now he's not. So I think Kyle should have scaled it a little bit. I do want to say Kyle does have, something. You do have to hold him a little accountable because there is, you have to look at the film. You have to look at how everybody else is in this league compared to college. But again, he was doing what worked for him, and Trey was having success on a lot of those runs. He did take some big hits, man, and I feel like him not being able to slide was definitely a big factor. But it's hard to slide when you're going up the middle because you got big dudes just like falling on you. So that is hard. To protect yourself going up the middle is different than when you're running outside the tackle. So it's definitely a balance, and I feel like maybe they could have ran a little bit, more plays running to the outside instead of inside. But again,
I don't think you get that much with Trey Lance, though. I don't think that's his skill set.
It's not because he's good up the middle because he is a big, strong guy. He was.
I don't think he has the speed to get to outside.
It's not necessarily the speed, but he doesn't have the elusiveness,
acceleration.
Exactly. Like it's similar to Deebo Samuel, right? Straight line speed might be different, but he can definitely, that he can turn on the jets. We've seen it. It just takes a little.
How long does it take though? The
exactly. And that's the thing. And now with teams understanding they're setting the edge, you're going to have to beat a person to get to that side, which is tough for a player of Trey Lance's skill set. Yeah.
So it might mean a tackle for a loss. It might mean a sack. It might mean a place in the ground. It might mean an injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's how they're playing. And I know a lot of people also, Raj and Rohan, they wanted. They were like, yo, why don't you do some boot actions to the left and to the right? Yo, they tried that, John. They tried it with Trey in this game. It didn't work. And they tried it with Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy was able to get the ball out quick over the guy's head. But the moment he hiked the ball, he faked the handoff, turned around, was about to boot, was in his face. They had to set their feet and just throw it. And the guy happened to be open for Jimmy, and Trey couldn't make the throw in the boot. So they're trying these things. They're trying all the stuff we're asking them to do. Like, they're literally trying. The defense is just cheating. They just know what's about to happen. And so now you got to figure out a way to counter it. All right, if they're cheating outside on the edges when we try to bootlegs, let's run the ball up the freaking middle. right? And so
Exactly.
we know if we put our running backs in there, they're going to try to gang on top of the running back. But if we can do our quarterback, Kyle Shanahan, first run with the game, it was genius. It was a 7-yard game from Trey Lance. You know why? Because it was a quarterback draw. So that's why I said I don't blame Kyle. I do question his calls because sometimes the power option, the out of the oh my gosh, what's that formation? Can't think of the name of the
Pistol?
shotgun out of the pistol formation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ain't gonna work. But you can still line up in the pistol formation and change the play to like a draw, which means now the quarterback drops back. He fakes the pass. All the guys are playing back. He has room to get up the middle and to get to that second level. And then those are the plays he can definitely get his slide on with. He get his slide on the draws.
Yeah.
When you're running these quarterback option runs up the middle, man, it's tough. And we're not used to seeing that. I think that's what the faithful is something that they're not used to seeing. They're used to seeing Colin Kaepernick fake can read option to the side. But the acceleration is different from the two players. That's why it's different.
It is true. They're different players. You're right. But because traditionally when you see a running quarterback, they do hit those sides. And you're right. It's a different skill set that Trey has. And I feel like those QB powers were like, oh, why are you doing? Why are you doing? It works for the Niners. And I think you're right. With Kyle, he wants to do it's working because a lot of that stuff, it's just his design. And he likes to do those misdirection plays and get people, thinking confusing. Because nobody thinks you're going to run a draw and a fucking pistol, right? That's so uncommon. So that's why it does work sometimes because you're not thinking that. But you got to also realize the teams we're playing against, they have NFL coaches too. They're reading, they're looking at Kyle's, offensive plays. They're looking at film. They're studying Trey Lance. They probably know, like Pete Carroll's as smart as they come. He probably saw like, okay, this is the type of stuff that he did in college. Knowing Kyle, he's probably going to do this against me. And again, it wasn't like anybody was forcing him to get hurt. Again, I feel like the usage, the whatever, the types of plays could have been different, but you can't fix the result because that was a freak injury. The guy fell on him, and that was just crappy. But I like what you said, Wayne. If he drops back in a shotgun or pistol and everybody clears, then yeah, you can run up the middle. That's all, Tecmo Bowl football, baby. And then you just slide, man.
That's the good old quarterback draw. And let me say, can a quarterback get hurt on that play? Yup. You know why? Because it's football. Like anybody could get hurt on any play. I just want people to understand that. You guys just got Hendricks said something very smart, and this is what I had to start conditioning myself to do. When I'm at the game or if I'm watching the game on TV, I'm literally just trying to watch the game on TV. I don't even dive into it until I get my all 22. When I get my all 22, I can see intricately what was supposed to happen, if Trey missed a read on the read option, these types of things. And he made a great comment. If Trey did miss the read on that play, if that ball was supposed to go to the running back or whoever was in the backfield, might have been Debo, might have been whoever, and he missed the read and he took it himself, that's not on Kyle. It's an option. The thing is, the person running the option has the ability to control the option. And the quarterback, that's their job. So they have to understand the read. Now, maybe Trey isn't comfortable running the option.
Maybe.
Because we saw him mess up with Debo. Debo said it. That wasn't even for me. That makes sense why Debo was supposed to get hit in the backfield.
You saw the picture where there's like 7 guys and somehow
it was all 7.
And somehow Debo gets the 50. Like, that's incredible.
I'm trying to think. Oh, you know the X-Men character Colossus?
Yeah.
When he's a regular man and then he powers up to this metal thing. That's what Debo did. And all the players went off of him. He was like, pow, and then he was gone. I mean, he ran out of gas, but that's what it was. I'm trying to tell you, man. We guys got to stop blaming, and just accept the fact that, this is who Trey is. This is who our coach is. These are some of the things that we got. We don't have to like it. Let's just not blame him when things just don't go right. Like, if we lose a game, you want to blame the coach, that's different. But when a player gets injured on a play, it ain't the coach's fault. It's just the football game. It's the game's fault. That's what it is. It's the game's fault.
It's true. So yeah, like Hendrick said, it's a good comment. You can literally get injured anywhere on the field. So it does. Reggie Bush, the man he slid on the sideline.
On the sideline, bro.
Tore his ACL. Like, that was the most
for the season.
Player
for the season. We didn't even get a chance to get Reggie Bush acclimated into the 49er way, right? He didn't play one game except for that game.
That was ugly, man. I used to love Reggie.
I was excited. I was like, we're going to be thrown out of the backfield. He's going to be man.
It was the worst injury. Rohan,
He was worse than Jared McKinnon. I'll
yeah.
say it. I said it.
Oh man, that was bad. Rohan, what you got? Any other more thoughts on that, or where's your head going into week 3, man? Where's your head at?
Yeah, I mean, week 3, right? It is going to be a bit of a different game plan. Like we saw what Kyle Shanahan incorporated early with Jimmy Garoppolo. It was somewhat of I think honestly, I thought that all that play design in those first 2 drives were at least fairly incorporated for Trey Lance. I think that kind of was the vibe. But the one thing that I was disappointed with in the offense, I thought it sizzled in the second half. When you look at it, the Trey Lance offense had 143 yards in total on those first 2 drives, 9 yards per carry. The running game after Trey Lance went out averaged under 4 yards per carry. I believe it was like 3.4 or 3.6 or something like that yards per carry. And even if I take out, or sorry, it was actually like 2.7 yards per carry. And even if I take out the goal line carries from Garoppolo and Kyle Juszczyk, it's only 3.3 yards per carry. That won't work against the Denver Broncos, a better rush defense. So to me, I think the 49ers are going to have to reestablish that running game and not force teams to force them to pass. Denver is going to stack the box because the 49ers can't play 11 on 11 football. And even if they stack the box, the 49ers now don't have the necessary answer that they had with Trey Lance that they have with Garoppolo. They have to be more creative. That's the one difference in the 2 offenses when they line up in similar situations, be it in the pistol, be it in the I formation. Now you can't run 11 on 11 football because you have Jimmy Garoppolo there. And so to me, I need the 49ers offense to come out, have a good balanced attack, focus on the run, but also be able, Garoppolo's got to be able to hit the throws when they're given to him after the 49 or after the Denver Broncos stack the box. I think that those 2 are going to be important. Still think our defense should carve. Russell Wilson has had a little bit of an adjustment period, right, with the Denver Bronco offense. That offense really hasn't taken off yet. They've scored 16 points in both of the 2 kind of weeks. So to me, I think the defense should still work, but the offense, that's where I'm looking forward to. How will the offense respond to Jimmy Garoppolo now being there? Will there be a little bit of a difference in the system, in the play calling? How will that go? And also, more importantly, how will the run game feature without 11 on 11 offense?
Well, I have the answer for your run game. I definitely want to tackle on Jimmy Robinson's comment. But just to add to your run game, here's what's going to help. And this is what's going to have to happen because Denver is going to stack the box. They're going to force Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball. You guys should know that by now. Jimmy is back. We're about to get back into what we've witnessed with Jimmy Garoppolo being here. And it's just who he is. He doesn't have the strength to throw the ball down the field, stretch the D, all these different types of things. The 49ers are going to try to come out and run the game. But I wouldn't be surprised, Rohan, if at the very beginning they use the extension of the run game, a.k.a. the screen pass.
Yes.
Like those are the types of things. You're going to see George Kittle back here. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of screens to George Kittle just to get him acclimated back to football speed, things like that. Get his tone. You want George Kittle out there setting the tone for that offense because guess what? It's going to open up Deebo Samuel. And so I'm not even leaning on the run game in this. I'm actually leaning on the extension of the run game in this game because I don't think Denver is going to be able to match up. They got a bunch of pass rushers. They're trying to get home. So if they're going to pursue and overplay and try to get home on every play, well, guess what? Jimmy showed it last week. I never thought I'd be giving Jimmy all these props. Jimmy showed it last week by throwing the ball, getting it out quick. I think he's going to be the same type of Jimmy. Jimmy just has to do what you said, make those accurate throws. And honestly, I think that's the difference between him and Kyle Shanahan. That's why I think a lot of people him and Trey Lance. I think that's why a lot of people question Kyle Shanahan because if you know Trey Lance doesn't have that skill set for your screen passes, then change that shit up. Do what he's good at. And I think that was the issue with everybody. While they're mad that he's running the ball, they're like, yo, he can throw the ball, so let him throw the ball. And I get it. But with Jimmy, sometimes the run game isn't going to work because they're going to play 11 on 10, right? That's how it's going to be. It's not going to be 11 on 11 anymore. And they're going to have to force Jimmy to make some plays. And I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if Tico Raw doesn't get called up from the practice squad, and all of a sudden he's playing in this game with Marlon Mack, with Jeff Wilson Jr. Now
Tevin Coleman in this game? I think
Oh.
that's insurance, but maybe
It's,
not this
it's,
game.
it's not insurance. It's not
But
insurance.
You definitely take the bet that Tevin Coleman's going to play in the game this
Oh,
year. Just
he's back on this roster, and he's healthy now,
Not
and
just
he's still young. Listen, I watched some of Tevin Coleman's highlights. I posted some earlier today, Raj. That boy was a problem. The only issue, he got hurt in the goddamn championship season.
oh man,
Hurt.
this feels like 2019. It's a little
No,
weird.
they getting Jimmy all his pieces back. The only person that they need to get back right now is DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, suited up, yo.
Let's get him back, man. Let's go call Emmanuel Sanders off of NFL Network. Yo, make him
Might as well.
You didn't need to retire.
Might as well get Sanders back, man. Come back in here.
Go get KB also. The man not doing nothing in New England.
No, they're not even targeting KV anymore. Just get all Jimmy pieces back. Give him a second shot. This is his last shot with the Niners anyway. Let Jimmy come in here and get him his pieces back. But Jimmy asked a good question. Jimmy Robinson, that is. He says, I understand where you guys are coming from, right? But then why do all of our running backs always get hurt? And that's a great freaking question, you know? And my answer is this. It's just the type of running backs that Kyle drafts, and it's the type of style plays that he runs. Like, we got quicker offensive linemen opposed to really big offensive linemen, right? And so on that tier, I think Ty Davis Price got hurt on that first play that was behind the line when he got smacked for a -4 yards. I really think that's where he got injured. Kid just tough and played the whole game on a high ankle sprain. Like, I think that's where he got hurt. I went back and watched it. It didn't look good, but he got back up and he came back in. I'm not sure why our running backs stay injured. I think it's just the type of guys that Kyle wants. And, you know, we thought he's going with these durable backs. We thought Ty Davis Price was going to be bigger, durable, but it could be the way his running style is. Like, not his running style, but the way Kyle is calling these run plays. So maybe the run plays need to be just straight up power opposed to whatever. You got this guy pulling, you got a counter here. Maybe just too much shit going on. Because Kyle, it's very intricate.
It's interesting. It's interesting for sure. Like, you wouldn't expect the running backs in this offense to get as injured as they do, because first of all, before we used to run a ton of outside zones. Second of all, we ran in a timeshare for almost every single year in the Shanahan era, right? We had the one Carlos Hyde year when Shanahan first inherited the roster, and then last year was really the second year in which a running back eclipsed 200 carries. Before that year, you had timeshare. So to me, it's the style of running back that they draft, and I'm not talking about. But even then, like, you have different imposing running backs. I don't want to say it's a coincidence because of how much it's occurred, but in this style of offense, where, you know, you're not getting as many carries as you might be in a different offense, it's just maybe people aren't as used to the load. And I think the big thing is people get the load earlier in their career in this offense compared to other offenses where they have to adapt to that style of NFL running earlier than later. I think that's probably one of the things.
Yeah.
I just read Jesse's comment, bro.
I love Jesse, man.
It's Wisconsin, Jesse.
Dude, I am not covering no Scott Frost team, Scott Frost team.
Not a corner. The Wisconsin Badger. Yo, tell us how's Wisconsin.
The Badgers, not the Corn Huskers. He's not out there husking corn.
He's not talking about corn. He's not talking about corn. And
we always love Jesse out here. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. How the hell is it going in Wisconsin, man?
That's a good question. I was going to ask that. I'm glad you asked before I did. How is it going out there, bro?
It's good. I mean, I've covered 3 games now. Been out there. You know, we're 2-1 out here. We blew out like one of the worst FBS teams this past week, but we face Ohio State, so we're gonna now get blown out in this week. I shouldn't say that in case any Badger fans were in the chat, but my score prediction I think this week was like a 3-touchdown or like 2-touchdown deficit. So I'm not too optimistic for this week, but it's been all right. We did have one surprising loss in a way in week 2, but yeah, move forward.
It is what it is. I can't wait till you play my boys in blue, Michigan.
White, crappy weather.
Roz, I didn't know you
JJ
were
for
a Michigan
Heisman,
fan.
baby. I'm so glad they gave him the quarterback.
Oh,
I
I
didn't know you
forgot.
were
He's
a
a Michigan guy.
fan.
Oh, you're a Michigan
Oh, we
fan.
got
Oh,
two Michigan
bro,
fanboys
I
in
was
here.
at the Ohio State Michigan last year. We stormed the field, bro, after we won the game. That was
No,
legendary.
you didn't tell me you were go blue, bro.
Bro,
This
let's
is the
go, man.
real
Become
Bro,
best friends.
listen, man,
So,
listen. You must don't watch my. You don't pay attention to my Saturday post, bro.
you
I
know,
was
I
shitting
do.
on Cade
No, you know what?
McNamara for
Last week I
2
saw you
years.
posted. I saw you posting about Cade and this and that. I was
He's
like,
trash. He need to go somewhere where he could play little Pee Wee League football. He's just
oh,
not
he's
a
so
football
bad.
player.
He's so bad.
terrible.
I'm so happy about JJ, man.
Oh
JJ.
my gosh. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. McCarthy, for giving us JJ and a kid. I finally think Jim Harbaugh finally has a
Got
quarterback.
his guy, man. He's got his guy. You're right,
Sorry, man. Sorry, guys. I know this is not a college football show. I get it, but it just
kind of fell
bless
off the
my heart.
track. But I want to go back to what you were talking about, the injuries and stuff. Yo, man, the Niners are the most physical team in the NFL. You're going to get hurt when you run that physical. When you run the rock that many times, they run the ball almost at a higher pace than anybody in the NFL. Running backs have short shelf lives. It's like a fact in the NFL. And when you run that much, your short shelf life gets shorter. And especially if you're running at a very physical, frenetic pace. So I think that is the reason. We're a very physical team. They practice physical. You were at the training camps, Rohan. Very physical practice. And one thing I've said during these last couple weeks, these last couple months, since I've been at the practices, I noticed these. I don't think they stretch enough. I honestly don't think they go into their installments, their drills, and everything like super quick. So if that's happening in training camp, maybe it's happening the rest of the practices and stuff. Again, I'm just speculating, but they're a very physical team, and I think they work more on like strengthening and getting power. But when you focus on power, you're giving up away flexibility, and that could kind of lead to injury. So that's my take on it. They're a physical ass team, man.
I do gotta revert just a little bit because I just wonder next year, running backs are slipping now into the second round. Next year, if we draft a really good freaking run, stop the 5th rounds, the 6th rounds, the undrafted guys. If you just draft a running back that is durable, that has proven they can play like on a pro level in college, right? Like that, like, those guys. Wonder if it would change the way our running backs injuries go. I just wonder. We never do it. But I wonder if one year we actually took the 2nd round pick, drafted a running back that should have went in the 1st round, and now you got a guy. And so what? You ain't got to pay him for 5 years. I mean, you're not gonna pay him a lot, for 5 years, and then when the 5th year comes, you get rid of his ass. You get rid of his
ass. Like if we would have picked Najee Harris or somebody like that, who knows that they could run like 25 carries a game. Derrick Henry type guy.
A bell cow coming out of college, right? Like the durable guy. And so, because I wonder. I'm always wondering. Because why they call me Wayne Wonder, right? I wonder if Elijah Mitchell dropped so late in the draft because he dealt with injuries.
Yeah.
Because he's a great running back. He just can't stay healthy. And that causes Kyle Shanahan to get more gray hair. I think he got more gray hair than Breezie.
Yeah, he got more hair than me and you combined, man. It's sad. That's why hats went. We gray up.
Poor Kyle, man.
I don't know.
Rohan doesn't know anything about the gray hairs yet.
Nah, man. He got about 20 years before he get his first gray, bro.
I don't know if he keeps covering this team.
When you talk about the running backs, I'm going to get gray hair by 25 if I'm still covering the 49ers by then. This is the way that everybody, like literally everybody we see now has gray hair. You got gray hair. You got gray hair. Kyle got gray hair. Dude, like Trey Lance in 5 years is going to have gray hair.
After rehab, that boy about to have gray hair.
I love it.
Yeah, I can't say that now. But no, I mean, when we talk about the running game, my last thoughts are, I think Wayne said it, it's because of the high volume of running, right? When you look at the injuries, a ton of these injuries are freak injuries. Elijah Mitchell's, was it a sprain?
MCL,
was it a sprain?
right?
Yeah, it's the grade 2 sprain, I believe, the MCL sprain.
The same thing Tyler Croft has, honestly.
Yeah.
Just his is worse.
Like when you look at the play, right? It's a freak injury, helmet to knee hit, and I mean, obviously the
Up the middle
injury
too.
history that he's had with that knee obviously plays into effect, but it is a freak injury. When you talk about it, running backs for us get injured more often because we utilize them more often. I think that that's really just the clear example. And while we do utilize a timeshare, when you have more running plays in general, even with the timeshare, you do have a tendency for players to get a little more injured because there's just more chances for freak injuries, right? I think that that's kind of like what I attribute it to. And so while I don't think many of these injuries really have a reason behind them, the amount of running is what kind of accumulates to these injuries.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the amount, the sheer volume. Because I mean, if we're gonna blame Kyle for running Trey at a frenetic pace, it's the same theory of everybody else on this team. They run the ball so damn much, and like like George Kittle, he gets hurt because he's so physical. He's always blocking in the run game, and like that causes him to break down. It's just it's hard to keep up that pace. These guys are so big. They're playing against guys that are just massive.
Oh
It's
yeah.
gonna take a toll on your body, and like. I compared George Kittle to a guy like Gronkowski. It's very similar careers. They're so dominant. They're so good when they're in there, but they've both missed multiple games every season they played because of the way that they block and do everything else for the game. Because those two, like Kittle and Gronk, are two tight ends more than anybody in this NFL that have had to do both block at a high level and pass catch at a high level
Yep.
more than anybody else. So it takes a toll. Real quick, I want to get to 49ers throwback. Appreciate the love always. He says, I need a Hufanga jersey. I think we all need a Hufanga jersey.
I'm gonna get me
Boy.
a Hufanga jersey. Because the 40 and if the 49ers don't sign
Get them before it's too late.
Hufanga, yeah, if they don't extend Hufanga, then me and the 49ers gonna have a problem because that kid is all football.
Yeah, that boy's a
Y'all don't complain about the way he fly around the field all over the place. You know what I'm saying? He just going like a missile.
He's a beast, bro. I love Hufanga.
Well, I'm sitting here breaking down this film, right? And I'm on the second drive, and it's Hufanga tackle, Hufanga tackle, Hufanga tackle, Hufanga tackle. I'm like, damn, dude, can somebody else get a tackle, bro?
He's all over the place, bro. He's the fruit ninja, like I call him. He's slicing
Oh
it.
my god.
I got a question though, because I think our safeties are playing the best safety in football. Next to Philly. I'm sorry, Philly.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me, Philly. Darius Slay's
Bro.
number one safety in the league, bro. Like, hands down.
JJ, yeah.
Hands down. Number one safety in the league, Darius Slay Jr. I give it to you. Philly defense is crazy, but I like our safeties. Jimmy Ward is coming back in 2 weeks, bro.
Mm-hmm. Are you? Yeah.
Deshaun Gibson is balling out, bro. Like, he ain't no slouch.
Yeah. He's actually been way better than I expected.
Me too. Better than I thought.
Like, he's got to be the expendable though, right?
Oh yeah. No, I think you do bump him down.
He's going to a different team. The moment we let him go, Rohan, he's out.
No, you keep him on the roster. Bro.
How do you keep him on the roster?
You have five. You don't carry five safeties. You have to.
You can't.
Somebody else is expendable because Gibson's been great depth, and I think they need to find.
Then what do you? Because when you look at the outlook of this team, right? Gibson's been great depth, no, but you keep great depth on the practice squad in this case, given that the two other safeties are your top two gunners, George Odom, Tarvarius Moore. They've been really good. Moore has been very good as a gunner, and you have Hufanga, you have Jimmy Ward coming back. Maybe you carry an extra safety. Maybe you carry five, be unpredictable, and cut somebody else from the active roster.
I'm gonna let Moore go. Sorry.
If we're being honest, though, this is the 49ers. We have two active roster spots right now. Like, it's not like we need to, and injuries are likely to occur. We're probably going to have another injury to somebody on the 53-man roster.
100%.
I'd expect another IR move. So I don't think we will have to face the decision. But if we do, you probably do have to, probably do.
Here's my real question. They're playing lights out safety, and I love Jimmy Ward. But it's going to take him some time to get reacclimated.
Yeah, gonna be a little rusty.
Do you sprinkle him in and let those guys start and sprinkle Jimmy in on a play or two until he gets his football legs back?
Nah, he's a.
If we're being honest, no. Instead, what I do, you have a 3-week designation window after a player returns or no, that's for PUP. Once you act, or I forget the rule. I think there's a practice window that you can
Yeah, there
return
is.
to practice
Is that for
before
IR
being
though?
activated off the IR. I
Okay.
think it's for PUP and IR. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but I do think you have a practice window. You get him acclimated in practice
Mhm.
and then get him ready to play.
So
But
should
overall,
his practice window starts after this week then?
Most
it
Because
likely.
can start. Yeah, it can start. I believe.
all right.
Like I forget exactly the rule how it is, but to be honest, yeah, I think that you whenever he's healthy is the only time when you activate him back and bring him to. I don't know if it's for what do you call it, for IR, because IR is only 4 weeks, but
Right.
still, whenever he's back, that's when you activate him when he's fully healthy and ready to play, because you play him fully in week 1.
That I'm just saying we got a really good safety room, and it's gonna be a problem if you have to let one of those if you have to let Tashawn Gibson go. And does he because you got to cut him. If you cut him, he has to clear. He doesn't have to clear waivers, right? Because he's a veteran.
Yeah, but you can't put him on the practice squad because they already have 6 players
They
on
don't
the.
have to, I would let somebody gone.
Kurt Beckert.
Kurt Benkert. Yo, what a name, man. What a name. Somebody got to go, but you can't let him go because you need a quarterback on the practice squad. So it's going to be interesting. It might be one of the running backs. It's going to be crazy, yo.
I think you got Jimmy in there. I think you ramp him up, like you said. You open the practice window, he's going to ramp up. But the moment he's back, you put him in there because he's not only like
Absolutely.
your captain, he's your leader. He's probably ripping and roaring. And you know the good. I mean, if there's any good thing about an injury, his injury came where it was preseason where he had 2 weeks before the season started, and then they put him on the injury. So I know we think it was 4 weeks. It's actually been a 6-week recovery for him. So I think by that point he's going to be more than healthy when he comes back. So he should be ready. So when they open up the window and he goes back and he practices, I think he'll be ready to rock and roll, and he's just going to be ready to go and play. I mean, he may be rusty his first game, obviously, but 9-year vet, man, it's like riding a bike, right? Like Jimmy G says,
Like riding a bike, baby.
it's like riding a bike. Yeah.
So
So
fucking corny.
I'm excited. It's gonna be good to see him back. We need him. We need him back.
Appreciate you both. I have to go right now. I do see one question. Do I think George Kittle will play this Sunday from 49ers Throwback? To answer that, he did practice today in limited fashion. It's Wednesday. I expect him to play this Sunday. I think he should be back. I think the 49ers have been cautious. I think he should be back on Sunday. But appreciate you both. Always a pleasure talking with you guys. And obviously appreciate the chat. Chat's been great today. I'll catch you guys next time, guys.
All right, broski.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. You have a good one, Rohan. Thanks for coming in. And anytime, man. And keep up the good work in Wisconsin, but go blue.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Oh, Rohan's right, man. I do want to give a shout out to the chat because honestly, man, the chat, and I said this the other day, man, this chat has been absolutely amazing. I appreciate all the support. Breezy's, man, your chat's always amazing. But the people out in YouTube, like, it's different. And I've noticed that, like, people in YouTube actually want to engage and talk about football and have their voice heard. I love Instagram. That's where I got big. But, man, some of these people can be so toxic, man. I was getting hate last night. I
heard.
Like, man, I was not having fun.
Hey, man, don't let your haters be your motivators, bro. You know that. I always tell people, if they hating on you, man, you're doing something right, brother. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. You out here grinding. You're building your community over here on the YouTube. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with my man, Raj, man. He's been doing this for a minute, and it's really good to see him more on camera. You definitely know your stuff, man. You're a great personality, and you're a great friend, bro. So continue to do what you're doing. George Kittle is definitely playing on Sunday, though. I can tell you that for a fact. And here's why. It ain't gonna rain. And since there's no bad weather, George Kittle's gonna be out there making it rain, baby. Trey Lance style. Let's go.
You heard it first, baby. You heard it from Wayne. You know the vibes. That's exactly what's gonna happen. Kittle's gonna come back. He went to practice today. I don't have a question that he's not gonna play. I think Kittle's hungry. He wants to get back. And I appreciate you, Breezy, for the kind words. Likewise, man, you're the man. You're a good friend. You've been grinding yourself, and you keep doing your thing. And I appreciate you so much, man. So anybody that's here and doesn't follow Wayne, go follow the band, Wayne Breezy, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, everything, man. Go get my man. Get his likes up, man. Get his subscriptions up. Go appreciate my man. But yeah, Kittle's coming back. It's gonna be a hell of a game on Sunday, man. I can't wait.
I like what Hendrick said. He said that Kittle coming back will come. Like, listen, if there are no conspiracies coming out of the 49ers brass, then we ain't doing something right. Because he's right. He's right. Oh, you couldn't play for Trey Lance, but you could be ready.
Yeah.
Listen, and you know what, Raj? We're gonna be here for it. Listen, our job, our duty, I don't like to say job because we don't necessarily get paid for this, but our duty is to make sure you guys, each and every one of you, have an outlet to come up here to voice your opinions, to get your thoughts out. Fucking rehab, whatever it is, drink, smoke. I don't care what it is you need to do. That's why we're here. But that controversy, that conspiracy right there, I'm here for it, yo. And I'm gonna have popcorn ready, and I'm just gonna click the record button and let everybody go at it, bro. Because that's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
You're right, dude. Yo, shout out to 49er Jeff. I met him this weekend. He came all the way down. Before the game Friday night. No, it was a Saturday night. Like there was a whole bunch of people, hanging out. Saw Travis, King and Bash, my boy Bash from 49er Minded, the Forever 49er Faithful Podcast. Like a whole bunch of people. My man Mike, I saw your boy Mike there. He was there. I saw 49ers Hive. Like the whole crew was there. So I pulled up. It was good times, man. I saw a lot of people. So shout out to the whole Niner community, man. This is dope when you get to see the Niner fans like that you see on YouTube or on Twitter or you're interacting with. When you see them up close and personal, it's a different vibe, man. So
I just heard that Fernando said that they got their account back because Nothing But Niners got hacked. I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try it. I gave up. I ain't going front. I started growing the other page and I gave up. I'm gonna try to see if I can get my account back. I'm gonna try it tonight. I'm gonna see if I can get it back. Raj, I know what I had to tell you. I'll be out there in Miami week.
Oh, you're going to the Miami game?
So let's get together, bro.
I'll see you. I'm going to that game. Let's definitely see you there.
All right, there it is. We'll be cheering in December, baby.
Woo, Breezie and Raj at Miami game. That's gonna be fun.
Sir.
Man.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast, man. We're gonna have a blast.
It's gonna be fun times, man. Any last words for tonight?
Listen, man, get y'all stuff ready, man, because we're headed out to the high altitude city, with Mile High City. I'm gonna be out there with my boy John Chapman. We're gonna be putting on a couple of parties. We're gonna have Navarro Bowman signing autographs and stuff like that. So it's cool. Raj, I'll try to hook you up. Yes, you know how we do. And yo, it's gonna be a really good time, man. And Sunday night football.
I can't wait, man. It's gonna be fun, bro. Get the oxygen. You're gonna need some oxygen up there in the
That's what they said. Listen, I've been drinking like 128 ounces of water like every day, bro. I'm getting my water intake up right now as we speak because I heard once I step off the plane, I'm gonna be walking on cloud 9. I heard it's a little different out there in Denver.
It's a little, man. Have you ever been up there in Denver?
I've never been to the mountains, bro.
Ooh, boy, yeah, get some oxygen, man. That's all I'm gonna say. You're gonna be
really.
Yeah, you remember that clip where Fred Warner gets the pick 6 against the Rams?
I do.
And he's like, Jimmy Boy, you need some oxygen, man. You're gonna be telling John, give me some oxygen, bro.
Oh, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Sunday night football is going to be lit. It's Russell Wilson, man. He's the 49er killer, bro. And I can't wait to see how the 49ers dethrone Russell Wilson. They already took care of Pete Carroll. Now it's time to take care of the Russ bus. And after we do that, man, I like our chances against the Rams. They don't look that great either. This is going to be a really good fun time for 49er fans because once the wins start piling up, all this bull crap is going to be forgotten and everybody will get back to loving their team.
Oh yeah, 100 winning cures all. If they beat Russ this weekend, Niner fans are going to be so hyped up. They're going to that's what it is. Your emotions are going to be so ecstatic and everybody's going to be hyped up that we got the dub. And that's all they got to do is continue 100%. To win games and the fans are going to be excited and everybody's going to forget about, losing games and things like that. We got to, honestly, let's win for Trey. Let's win this season for Trey. Rally whoever's there and support these guys. Again, this defense is elite. Like, nobody's going to be able to top this defense. This defense is coming for blood. Bro. It's going to be nasty. As long as they stay
I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on the Wayne Breezie show. I'm looking at these numbers and I'm looking at these defenders. They're not skipping the beat. And they had 0 brain farts in week 2. I don't expect them to have any brain farts in week 3. They had 1 brain fart, the Emmanuel Mosley penalty, but that I thought was ticky-tacky.
Tough penalty, does it? I mean, it was a good play. It was a good play. And then DK was going to get that call regardless. But I mean, if you really look at it, yeah, 1 penalty compared to 12 penalties. It's a big difference. Big
night and day,
difference.
baby. Night
Yeah.
and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. All right,
I
bro.
can't-
Thanks for having me, man. I'm gonna jump up
Hey,
out of here, bro. You do your
anytime,
thing.
man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Everybody go follow my man Wayne Breezie. Appreciate you for hopping on, as always.
you. Anytime, bro.
All right, man. That's it for today. Appreciate you guys for dropping in. It was a good show. We had Rohan and Wayne. Always a good time when they drop in. Good times. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Appreciate you guys so much. Have a good rest of your night. And, keep the faith. Let's roll into this week 3 with positive energy. And let's hope we get the dub. I love you guys so much. Have a great, great night. Bang, bang. Not again.